So what exactly is happening? We are losing about 2% of the whole insect population every year. The reasons for this being climate change, loss of habitat and other man-made reasons. Now this is how far I've driven this car all over Central Europe without washing it. Even 5 years ago, this would have been full of bugs. I mean, there's some, but I remember having to clean my car once a week. Insects make up a huge part of the ecosystem. We know of 1.5 million species of animals, insects in total, and over 2/3 of these are insects. And with these 1.1 million insect species, just to show you how many there are about 75,000 species of vertebrates, so that's everything with a backbone, from human to fish. Insects like this small spider here are food to many other animals. About 80% of the wild plants and about 75% of global crops are actually pollinated by insects. So that's another big thing they do. They pollinate stuff. In short, less insects means much less food for us.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. That's a big spider.
Well, it's easy to think that insects are doing okay because there's just so many of them. And like the spider back then, they are maybe not so nice to look at. 24% of all recorded species are bugs. And there are more kinds of ladybugs than there are different species of mammals. It is estimated that we have lost 5 to 10% of all insect species in the last 150 years. And that makes 500,000 different species of insects that are lost. Well, the actual numbers on this are very unclear. And we don't know exactly which species are especially endangered because we have looked at 1% of all the 1.1 million species that we know. And one study said it's 9% of the insect species lost every decade, so every 10 years we lose about 10%, so 9%. And another one said another paper took 80 studies and said 1 to 2% of the insect population is lost every year. And in 40 years, that would mean that we would lose 1/3 of the tree of life. If you take a look at the pollinators, for example, and as I said, we need them for about 75% of global crops and 80% of the wild plants, 24% of the bees in the EU and 28% of the bees in the US are in decline and are threatened species. But it's not just bees, it's also moth species, butterflies, and about 1/3 of these are in decline. So if you're still not sure if you should care about this, once the insects go, they are the base of the ecosystem. They are the smallest member. We might not necessarily notice them go at first, but once these go, the plants go, the predators that feed on them go. Well, that's really all I wanted to say about this topic. It's just something I've noticed and I've never heard someone talk about before. And on a positive note, if we protect the habitat, then these species will recover, at least the ones that we haven't lost. We can see that in the US and the UK with freshwater insects, with dragonflies, for example. Clean water legislation has helped them, has protected their habitat, and has led to those numbers increasing. So there's that.